On 22 December 1944, Bastogne, Belgium, a vital junction of 7 major roads, lies encircled by German forces of XLVC I Panzer Corps, commanded by General der Panzertruppe Heinrich Freiherr von Luttwitz. The 101st Airborne Division under Brigadier General Anthony C. McAuliffe holds a defensive line around the town within a perimeter about 12.5 miles in circumference. At midday, a German truce party advances under a white flag toward American lines, bearing a typed ultimatum from Luttwitz. The document demands surrender within 2 hours, asserting encirclement by formidable armored units and warning of annihilation by artillery and air. It declares that the tide of war has shifted decisively. Within Heinz barracks, McAuliffe examines the letter alongside his staff. His immediate response, a curt "nuts," reflects his incredulity at the German demand. Following brief deliberation, the staff adopts this as the formal reply. To the German commander, "Nuts," the American commander, Colonel Joseph H. Harper, of the 327th Glider Infantry Regiment, carries the single sheet to the German emissaries. One German officer reads the single word aloud in the cold street and asks for a clearer translation. Harper explains that in American slang, it means they can go to hell, leaving no doubt that there will be no surrender. The word ripples through foxholes, aid stations, and command posts, galvanizing defenders who face dwindling stocks of ammunition, food, and medical supplies. The perimeter withstands initial German probes with artillery ammunition rationed to 10 rounds per gun daily beneath snow-laden clouds. The German offensive, initiated on 16 December 1944, seeks to fracture Allied lines and seize the Meuse River. 5th Panzer Army, led by General der Panzertruppe Hasso von Manteuffel, surges westward with 2nd Panzer Division, Panzer Lehr Division, and 26th Volksgrenadier Division, completing Bastogne's encirclement by 21st December. The town's road network renders it essential for armoured movement and logistics. German strategy hinges on its swift capture to sustain their advance. Allied command, directed by Supreme Commander General Dwight D. Eisenhower, understands that Bastogne's loss would expose routes to German armour and hinder counteroffensives. The 101st Airborne, dispatched from Reims, arrives on 18 December, reinforced by Combat Command B of the 10th Armoured Division. The 101st establishes a comprehensive defence. The 502nd Parachute Infantry Regiment secures the northwest. The 506th Blocks approaches from Neuville, the 501st Guards, the east, and the 327th Glider Infantry Regiment spans the southern arc from Marvy to Champs. The 705th Tank Destroyer Battalion and 10th Armoured Teams de Sobry, Cherry, and O'Hara serve as mobile reserves. Artillery units concentrate fires on pre-planned targets despite limited shells. A German raid on the first night overruns much of the division's medical company, compelling service troops to serve as improvised infantry. Shelling severs telephone lines, requiring wiremen to mend them under fire. Radio and runners ensure communication persists. German commanders anticipate a swift American collapse. Luttwitz's ultimatum reflects confidence in superior numbers and armour. Artillery ammunition is rationed to 10 rounds per gun daily, preserving scarce shells. The defenders hold firm, with no air resupply possible due to persistent snow and overcast skies. Lieutenant General George S. Patton Jr.'s Third Army, pivoting north from Lorraine, battles toward Bastogne, but relief lies days away. The core challenge is endurance, the ability of the 101st to maintain its perimeter against an ever-tightening encirclement. The 101st Airborne Division, entrenched in Bastogne, faces relentless German assaults through snow and fog. On 23 December 1944, the perimeter, about 12.5 miles in circumference, absorbs attacks from forces of XLVII Panzer Corps. The 26th Volksgrenadier Division presses from the southeast toward Marvy, while 2nd Panzer Division and Panzer Lehr Division probe northwest sectors near Champs and Foy. The 502nd Parachute Infantry Regiment holds the northwest shoulder of the line, repelling thrusts against approaches from the north. Artillery, its ammunition rationed to about 10 rounds per gun, daily delivers precise barrages on German assembly areas, guided by forward observers, scanning for muzzle flashes in the frozen woods. Inside the Heinz barracks, Brigadier General Anthony C. McAuliffe coordinates with his staff, prioritizing ammunition allocation and perimeter integrity. The 705th Tank Destroyer Battalion, paired with Combat Command B of the 10th Armored Division, counters German armor at key roadblocks. A Sherman tank crewman near Marvy engine, idling to prevent freezing, engages enemy tanks at ranges under 500 yards while conserving scarce fuel. Telephone lines repeatedly severed by shelling force wire men to brave open ground for repairs. Radio operators and runners bridge gaps in communication, ensuring fire missions reach artillery batteries. The defense integrates infantry armor and engineers into a network of strongpoints, each covering interlocking fields of fire. German commanders expecting a rapid breakthrough grow frustrated as Bastogne holds. The ultimatum's 2-hour deadline issued on 22 December passes without American capitulation. Tanks bog down in snow and traffic jams as repeated attacks fail to break the perimeter. The Americans adapt using terrain and massed artillery to blunt assaults. A corps artillery group, firing time on target salvos, disrupts German formations before they reach the line. In a cellar aid station, Belgian nurse Renée Lemaire bandages wounded paratroopers amid dwindling morphine as shells shake the walls. Medical evacuations halt. The wounded remain in Bastogne. On 23 December, clearing skies bring hope. Transport aircraft C-47s from IX Troop Carrier Command appear over drop zones west of town, escorted by P-51 Mustangs. Parachutes deliver rations, ammunition, and medical supplies, though some bundles drift into German lines or break on impact. The drops provide urgently needed rifle and machine gun ammunition across the perimeter. Soldiers scramble to retrieve crates under small arms fire, dragging them to foxholes and command posts. The resupply, while critical, cannot fully offset shortages. Fuel for tanks and heaters remains scarce, forcing crews to prioritize mobility over warmth. South of Bastogne, Lieutenant General George S. Patton Jr.'s Third Army grinds north. The 4th Armored Division, led by Major General Hugh J. Gaffey, spearheads the relief effort with the 37th Tank Battalion and 53rd Armored Infantry Battalion advancing through Luxembourg and Belgium. Snow mud and German strongpoints slow their progress past towns like Arlon and Martelange. Each mile costs men and machines as mines, and anti-tank guns knock out Shermans along the route. The defenders, unaware of Patton's exact position, hear rumours of relief but focus on immediate threats. German infantry infiltrating at dusk, tanks probing at dawn, and shells falling without pause. The constraint is time. The perimeter must hold until relief arrives. Bastogne's road network, vital to German plans, remains contested, delaying their drive to the Meuse. The 101st battered but cohesive fights with a clarity born of necessity, each soldier and gun tied to the hard-pressed defensive ring around the town. On 24 December 1944, Bastogne's defenders endure intensifying German pressure along the hard-pressed perimeter around the town. The 26th Volksgrenadier Division, reinforced by elements of Panzer Division, launches coordinated assaults southeast of Marvy, aiming to fracture the 327th Glider Infantry Regiment's line. The 501st Parachute Infantry Regiment, holding eastern approaches, repels infiltrators near Bizery under heavy mortar fire. Artillery, its ammunition rationed to about 10 rounds per gun. Daily targets German assembly points with time on target barrages. Forward observers perched in shell-torn buildings adjust fire through field telephones, even as lines are cut repeatedly by shrapnel. The 101st Airborne Division, under Brigadier General Anthony C. McAuliffe, maintains a disciplined defense. The 705th Tank Destroyer Battalion shifts M18 tank destroyers to threatened sectors, engaging German armor at ranges as close as 200 yards. Combat Command B of the 10th Armored Division, its Sherman tanks camouflaged in snow counters, a breakthrough attempt near Champs while operating on scarce fuel. Engineers fortify roadblocks with felled trees and mines, while service troops pressed into infantry roles man secondary positions. In a crowded aid station, Belgian nurse Renée Lemaire and American medics triage wounded paratroopers, rationing bandages as shells rupture nearby water lines. German commanders led by General der Panzertruppe Heinrich Freiherr von Luttwitz grow impatient. Bastogne's resistance disrupts their timetable for the Meuse River. The failure to seize the town forces XLVII Panzer Corps to divert 2nd Panzer Division westward, thinning their main effort. American air resupply, now on its second day, delivers critical ammunition and rations via C-47 aircraft, though some planes are lost or damaged to ground fire. A single drop zone marked by coloured panels receives vital medical supplies that help sustain overstretched aid stations. South of Bastogne, the 4th Armoured Division, commanded by Major General Hugh J. Gaffey, battles through snow and German defences. The 37th Tank Battalion, with its M4 Shermans, and the 53rd Armoured Infantry Battalion advance past Bougainville, taking heavy tank losses to anti-tank guns over 2 days. On 26 December in the late afternoon, 1st Lieutenant Charles Bogus, commanding the M4A3E2 Sherman Jumbo Cobra King, reaches American engineer outposts near Assenois. His tank links with elements of the 101st Airborne, opening a narrow corridor. Soldiers exchange shouts across the snow as German artillery continues to pound the town, underscoring the fragility of the link-up. The relief, though a turning point, does not end the fight. German units, including remnants of the 26th Volksgrenadier Division, counterattack the corridor, aiming to sever it. The 101st, reinforced by 4th Armoured Division elements, holds an active front with skirmishes flaring into January 1945. The Nuts reply, now spreading through Allied radio broadcasts, begins to symbolise defiance, but the battle's outcome hinges on operational realities, the perimeter's resilience, artillery's precision, and Patton's relentless drive. The German plan, reliant on speed frays as Bastogne consumes time and resources, stalling their broader offensive. On 27 December 1944, Bastogne remains a contested battlefield, despite the narrow corridor opened by the 4th Armoured Division. German forces, including elements of the 26th Volksgrenadier Division and Panzer Division, launch counterattacks to pinch off the relief route near Assenois. The 101st Airborne Division, under Brigadier General Anthony C. McAuliffe, reinforces its defensive perimeter around the town with the 502nd Parachute Infantry Regiment holding firm against probes northwest of Foy. Artillery, still rationed to about 10 rounds per gun, daily delivers concentrated barrages that disrupt German infantry, forming in the snow-covered woods. The 705th Tank Destroyer Battalion repositions to cover the southern corridor, engaging enemy armour at close ranges. The 4th Armoured Division, led by Major General Hugh J. Gaffey, works to widen the corridor with the 37th Tank Battalion and 53rd Armoured Infantry Battalion clearing villages like Clochemont. The cost is steep. The 4th Armoured suffers on the order of 1,000 men killed and wounded in the drive toward Bastogne. Inside the town, supply convoys begin trickling through, bringing ammunition and medical stores, though fuel for tanks remains tightly rationed. Aid stations like the cellar where René Lemaire works receive fresh bandages and equipment, easing the strain on medics treating large numbers of wounded. Shelling persists, and German aircraft occasionally bomb and strafe the town, forcing defenders to remain vigilant. German commanders under General der Panzertruppe Hasso von Manteuffel recognize the strategic cost of Bastogne's resistance. The failure to capture the road hub on schedule forces XLVIE Panzer Corps to divert resources, weakening their drive westward. Allied forces, bolstered by the 101st Stand, begin compressing the Ardennes Bulge. By early January 1945, heavy fighting continues, but German units, hampered by fuel shortages and Allied air superiority, lose ground. The 101st and 10th Armoured Division maintain defensive positions, repelling attacks until the front stabilizes. The Nuts reply, now echoed in Allied newspapers, transforms into a symbol of resilience, though the battle's outcome rests on operational factors. The timely deployment of the 101st from Reims, the integration of artillery and armour, and the German miscalculation of American endurance at a fortified road hub proved decisive. The Ardennes offensive, envisioned as a rapid thrust to split the Allies, collapses under the weight of delays at strongpoints like Bastogne, logistical failures, and Patton's counterattack. The town's defence, costing the 101st 341 killed, 1,691 wounded, and 516 missing, underscores the human toll of holding a linchpin. By late January 1945, Allied forces restore the original front, eliminating the Bulge. The 101st Airborne Division's headquarters earns the Presidential Unit Citation, embroidered Bastogne, alongside the Belgian Croix de Guerre, 1940 with Palm. Combat Command B of the 10th Armoured Division and the 21st Tank Battalion receive similar honours. Regiments and attached units, informally dubbed the Battered Bastards of Bastogne, carry the memory of a grueling stand. The episode of McAuliffe's defiance, crystallised in a single word, weaves into the broader narrative of how a road hub, defended by a determined garrison, reshaped the final German offensive in the west. The defensive perimeter around the town, once a desperate bulwark, becomes a forward line from which the division pushes north and east to drive German forces back to their start lines. With Major General Maxwell D. Taylor returned to command the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, moves out from positions near Foy and Racon, advancing through snow-covered woods and fields to regain ground lost in December. Artillery, no longer held to emergency rations of ammunition, supports these attacks with carefully planned fire missions, lifting barrages just ahead of the infantry. The 327th Glider Infantry Regiment, moving toward Borcy to the northeast, encounters retreating elements of the 26th Volksgrenadier Division that had once helped encircle Bastogne. The 502nd and 501st Parachute Infantry Regiments fight through villages and tree lines north of the town, retaking places like Racon, the Bois des Corbeaux, Foynoville and Rachamps in a series of short, sharp engagements. Tank destroyers of the 705th Tank Destroyer Battalion, equipped with M18 Hellcats, provide mobile anti-tank support on the icy roads, while engineers clear mines and repair blown culverts so supply trucks can reach. Forward companies. Field telephones and radios less often cut by shelling now that the initiative has shifted. Link observation posts, infantry battalions and artillery batteries into a coordinated system. German forces of 5th Panzer Army under General der Panzertruppe Hasso von Manteuffel yield ground as the Ardennes Bulge is compressed. Fuel shortages, losses in the December fighting and growing Allied air superiority limit their ability to mount large counterattacks. The 101st advances methodically rather than in a sweeping thrust, securing crossroads and ridges that had anchored German positions during the offensive. Prisoners taken in the recaptured villages report units falling back toward the German frontier, their timetable broken and their formations depleted. Supply convoys now running regularly through the corridor, opened by the 4th Armoured Division, deliver rations, ammunition and medical stores in a volume that contrasts sharply with the scarcity of the siege days. Across the wider front, Supreme Commander General Dwight D. Eisenhower's forces press in from north and south to straighten the line. The 4th Armoured Division, which had broken through to Bastogne from the south in late December, continues to operate alongside the 101st striking German rear areas and helping to seal off escape routes. By the third week of January, 1,945 American units have pushed the enemy back roughly to the positions held before the December offensive, and the 101st is relieved from the line and sent to the rear. The divisions stand at Bastogne, capped by Brigadier General Anthony C. McAuliffe's single-word nuts reply during the siege becomes part of the larger story of how holding a road hub under encirclement bought the time and space needed for an Allied counteroffensive to reverse Germany's last major gamble in the West.